What if I told you the more you care, the more you suffer, and the moment you stop chasing, they start chasing you? This is not just psychology, this is power. Today, I will reveal why detachment makes you irresistible and how the world bows to the man who walks away. Right arrow problem we solve. Most people repel others because they seem desperate, overly emotional, or dependent. You will learn why emotional detachment is not coldness, but strategy, and how it attracts respect, fear, and desire. Attachment is weakness. You do not see it, but the world senses it in you, in your tone, in your urgency, in your eyes. The moment you need someone or something more than they need you, you have already surrendered your power. The battlefield is lost not with the sword, but with the subtle, unspoken declaration, "I cannot live without this." Understand this truth: when you attach, you become transparent. And when you are transparent, you are predictable. A man who is predictable cannot rule, cannot influence, cannot attract. He is no longer a mystery, but a map, easy to read and easy to conquer. Look around you. Who controls the conversation? The one who speaks less. Who controls desire? The one who offers less. Who is admired, even feared? The one who appears detached, for he can walk away, and he who can walk away holds all the cards. Attachment does not announce itself with chains. It wears the disguise of affection, of loyalty, of devotion. It pretends to be virtuous, but beneath it lies dependency. A man attached to praise becomes addicted to flattery. A man attached to a woman begins to orbit her mood, not his mission. A ruler attached to public opinion loses his spine and follows the mob. Your enemies, and yes, even your lovers, look for your attachment points. They search for what you cling to, and once they find it, they know exactly how to make you bend. The moment they discover what you fear to lose, they own you. There is no greater illusion than the belief that attachment makes you strong. People believe that caring deeply, obsessing passionately, is a mark of love or ambition. But in reality, it is a mark of imbalance, of being ruled by something outside yourself. That is not strength. That is enslavement. Consider this. Lions are respected not because they chase endlessly, but because they wait, poised and patient. They are selective. Rarely do they show desperation. When they do move, the forest listens. But the dog that begs, the dog that chases every scent, every scrap of affection, he is kicked, he is laughed at, he is ignored. And yet, how many men today act like dogs rather than lions? They beg to be seen. They chase to be chosen. They overinvest. They overshare. They attach without restraint. And they wonder why they are overlooked. Why are they not respected? Why do others pull away? Attachment reveals your hunger, and hunger, while necessary for survival, should never be on display. The wise man starves silently. He bleeds inwardly. He smiles through droughts. Because when the world believes you need nothing, it begins offering you everything. I have watched the powerful seduce the masses by appearing indifferent. I have seen rulers keep their thrones not through generosity, but through control of their emotions. And I have witnessed weak men lose their empires, not through war, but because they could not let go. Because we know what matters most for affection, for validation, these were their shackles. Do not confuse detachment with apathy. You may love, you may strive, you may want to, but the difference lies in this. The detached man chooses, the attached man pleads. One operates from strength, the other from fear. Fear is always the root of attachment, fear of loss, fear of loneliness, fear of being unseen. But the great secret is this: the more you fear to lose, the more you already have. The man with nothing to lose, he is free. And freedom, my dear listener, is magnetic. There is something intoxicating about a soul that does not cling. A soul that can stand alone, that does not flinch at silence, rejection, or delay. That soul is rare. And what is rare is always desired. What is abundant becomes background noise. So when you give yourself too easily your time, your attention, your approval, you diminish your value. They do not see you as a prize. They see you as a provider of ego, of entertainment, of reassurance. And when that is all you offer, you are quickly replaced, because there is always another willing provider. This is why attachment is not only weakness, it is exposure. You announce your desires and others use them. You reveal your dependency and others withdraw. You confess your feelings and others gain control. Every gesture, every text, every emotional outburst when done without restraint is a declaration. You are more important than me. And when you place someone above you, you fall below them. Not because they are better, but because you have made them so. Scarcity creates value. Understand this. What is common is cheap. What is always present becomes invisible. What is too accessible, too eager, too frequent, loses all sense of importance. You may have the finest gold, but if you hand it out like copper, it will be treated like dust. The human mind is designed not to value what is available, but to crave what is missing. And this is your greatest weapon, to be missing, not in body, but in spirit, in words, in response. In energy, the most desired individuals in any society are not the ones who scream for attention, but the ones whose presence feels like a gift, not a given. Why do people chase the one who does not call, long for the one who walks away, idolize the one who seems unreachable? It is because value is never measured by effort. It is measured by distance. What is too close becomes dull. What remains out of reach becomes legendary. A man who gives too much of himself loses his edge. The constant smile, the instant reply, the predictable kindness, they wear down his mystery, and with mystery dies power. Familiarity breeds not only comfort, it breeds boredom, and boredom is the death of attraction. I have observed this in courts, in marketplaces, in matters of war and love. The general who always deploys his full strength is soon outmaneuvered. The merchant who floods the stalls with his goods must drop his prices. And the man who is always available, always present, is soon forgotten, not because he lacks worth, but because he gives too much of it away. The wise man keeps something for himself, a look he never shows, a truth he never speaks, a feeling he never confesses. Not because he is deceptive, but because he is strategic. Because he understands that mystique, like perfume, must never be poured, only hinted. You believe that offering yourself completely will earn admiration. But people admire what they don't fully understand. They chase what escapes them, they serve what they cannot possess. The more they try to figure you out and fail, the more they are hooked. And the more they believe they've already got you, the faster they grow indifferent. Even kings fall when they forget this. The ruler who mingles too often with the people loses their awe. The leader who explains every decision becomes questioned, then doubted, then replaced. People do not want your transparency, they want your power. They want to feel they've earned access to something others have not. And that is where scarcity becomes supreme. When your time is rare, your presence valuable, your attention selective, people compete for you. They prepare for you. They behave better around you. Even your silence becomes a force. It is not emptiness. It is elevation. A moment of attention from a man of scarcity is worth more than a lifetime of devotion from a man who is always chasing. A brief conversation from someone rarely heard is remembered longer than the endless chatter of those who never stop speaking. Your value increases in the space between appearances. Do you want to be missed? then disappear at the right moment? Do you want to be respected? Then say less, not more. Do you want to be pursued? Then stop showing up without demand. It is not rejection, it is positioning. Let them wonder what you're thinking. Let them ask why you pulled back. Let them feel the absence, and they will assign meaning to it, meaning that serves you. People fill in the blanks with fantasy, and fantasy always outshines reality. When they do not fully know you, they invent a version of you that excites them, that haunts them, that keeps them up at night. But if you give them everything, if you show them every flaw, every insecurity, every thought, you rob them of that imagination. And what they imagined was always more powerful than the truth. A rare book locked behind glass will always draw more eyes than one handed out for free. A throne surrounded by silence will always command more respect than a man who begs to be heard. Your energy, your presence, your attention, these are currencies. And their value is dictated by one rule: the less, the better. You must never forget, when you are everywhere, you are nowhere. When you are always seen, you are no longer noticed. And when they can always reach you, they no longer reach for you. Detachment commands respect, not because it is cold, but because it is controlled. In a world ruled by impulse, the man who restrains himself becomes a god among men. While others react, he reflects. While others chase approval, he remains still. And it is in this stillness that power is born. Understand this: people do not respect those who seek to please them. They may smile, they may flatter, but deep in their hearts, they feel superior to the one who always bends. They know that his affection is not a choice, but a compulsion. And nothing is less respected than a man who cannot master his own compulsions. A detached man walks into a room and needs nothing. His silence is not awkward, it is sacred. His gaze does not seek validation, it weighs those who stand before him. He is calm not because he lacks emotion, but because he has conquered it. And those who witness this feel it instantly, the aura of someone untouchable. In politics, I observed this countless times. The most feared rulers were not those who shouted or punished excessively. No, it was the quiet ones, the ones who didn't speak unless they had already decided, the ones who never needed to explain themselves. Their lack of emotional response made others anxious. You cannot predict a man who gives you nothing to read. And in relationships, romantic or otherwise, the same law applies. The person who controls their emotions controls the dynamic. The one who stays composed while the other panics, obsesses, reacts, that person becomes the center of gravity. Not through cruelty, but through mastery. The more someone keeps their emotions in check, the more others try to unlock them. And this trying creates the imbalance that gives the detached their advantage. You see, most people spill everything. Their fears, their longings, their insecurities, they hand them out like bread. And in doing so, they become easy to mold, easy to move, easy to manipulate. But the one who holds back, who speaks in riddles or not at all, who refuses to be provoked, he becomes mysterious. And mystery breeds respect. There is something sacred about a man who is not easily moved. He becomes a symbol, not just a person. Others project meaning onto him. They watch their words around him. They feel the weight of his presence, even if he says nothing at all. Why? Because power is not in expression. Power is in restraint. And restraint is a language only the wise understand. Consider how people treat fire. A fire that dances wildly out of control is feared for a moment, then extinguished. But the fire that burns quietly, steady, focused, is what warms the palace and commands reverence. People sit near it, not too close. They feel its force without being scorched. This is what you must become. A steady fire, never desperate to prove you're burning. Those who show too much emotion are ruled by others. Their reactions can be predicted, their moves can be anticipated, but the detached man is unreadable. Is he angry? Is he impressed? Is he disappointed? No one knows. And because no one knows, everyone treads carefully. Even in conflict, the detached hold the upper hand. The one who yells first loses, the one who pleads loses. The one who shows their hurt loses, but the one who looks his enemy in the eye and shows nothing, not hatred, not fear, not sorrow, becomes untouchable. Because there is no weapon more terrifying than a man who cannot be shaken. Respect is not begged for. It is commanded, and it is commanded not by volume, but by composure. The more you react, the smaller you appear. The more you detach, the more others lean in. They want to know what you're thinking, what you're feeling, what you're planning. But you give them nothing, and in that nothingness lies your supremacy. The world does not admire what it understands fully. It admires what confuses it, what it cannot grasp, what it cannot predict. And that is why the man who is emotionally detached, not numb, but disciplined, will always stand above the rest. He may not say much, but his silence is louder than 1,000 voices. He may not chase approval, but his absence stings deeper than rejection. He may not ask for respect, but the world gives it freely, because it does not know what else to give to the man it cannot move. Control lies in indifference. This is the truth the world resists, because most people are addicted to reactions. They want to be seen, heard, validated, praised, loved. And that hunger is precisely what makes them controllable. You can bend any man who craves your attention. You can break any woman who fears your silence, because to those who are dependent on emotional response, indifference is agony. But the man who is indifferent, he cannot be played. He cannot be seduced by applause nor wounded by insult. He is not cruel, he is free, he has nothing to prove and even less to fear, and in a world obsessed with attention that makes him dangerous. Watch how people behave when they don't get the reaction they expected. Praise them, and they glow. Insult them, and they rage, but ignore them, they fall apart. Why? Because indifference removes their illusion of importance. It forces them to confront a truth they don't want to face, that your world does not revolve around them, that you are not dependent on their love, their approval, their opinion, that they are optional. You see, power begins when you no longer respond. When you can look at chaos and remain unmoved, when you can hear gossip and feel nothing, when you can walk away not in anger but in silence, not because you are retreating, but because you know nothing worth having must ever be chased. Most people spend their lives trying to control others, but the true art lies in controlling yourself. Control your words, control your reactions, control your presence. And soon you'll notice something strange. The more indifferent you become, the more others seek your attention. The less you care, the more they care. The moment you stop chasing, they start following. It is not by chance. It is a law of nature. Human beings are drawn to what they cannot dominate, and indifference is the highest form of resistance. They cannot guilt you, they cannot tempt you, they cannot shake you, because you have removed your need to be moved. That is control. I have watched generals win wars not through overwhelming force, but through calculated detachment. They did not fight every battle, they did not react to every threat. They waited, watched, chose their moment. And when they struck, it was decisive. Why? Because they had mastered the one thing their enemies had not: emotional neutrality. And in that neutrality, they preserved their strength while their opponents exhausted theirs. Apply this to your life. You are not required to answer every insult. You are not obligated to explain your silence. You owe no reaction to the ones who try to provoke you. Let them wonder, let them spiral, let them burn in their own desperation. Your silence will echo louder than any argument. This is not passive behavior. This is strategic dominance. You are not ignoring them because you are weak. You are withholding your energy because you know its value. And those who waste their power chasing every slight, every whisper, every meaningless interaction, those are the ones who end up tired, bitter, and controlled by others. People will always try to pull you into their emotional games. They will poke, provoke, flatter, and challenge not to connect, but to control. And the moment you take the bait, they win. But when you give them nothing, when you remain a blank surface upon which they can project nothing, their power collapses. You become a mirror. They see themselves, not you. They are forced to deal with their own neediness, their own expectations, their own weakness. And in that reflection, you become untouchable, not because you're hiding, but because you have nothing to protect. Nothing to lose, nothing to prove. A man who can remain indifferent in a world built on reaction is not empty, he is disciplined. His indifference is not a void, it is a shield, a filter, a declaration that not every demand deserves a response, that not every person earns access to your emotions, that not every noise deserves your attention. Control is never about domination. It is about refusal, the refusal to be manipulated, the refusal to dance when someone else plays the music, the refusal to let another person dictate your internal weather. Indifference is not absence. It is presence under control. It is not coldness. It is calculated warmth, given only when deserved. And it is the most terrifying thing in the eyes of those who feed on your reactions. You were taught that love means attachment. That value comes from how much you give. That respect is earned by constant presence. But those who rule, in politics, in love, in life, they know the opposite to be true. Attachment reveals your weakness. Scarcity reveals your worth. Detachment earns respect. And indifference grants control. The one who does not need is needed. The one who gives less is given more. The one who walks away is the one others chase. This is not cruelty. This is strategy, and strategy is the highest form of power. Do not seek to be loved by everyone. Do not pour yourself into every hand that reaches. Do not explain yourself to those who do not listen. Be calm, be rare, be immovable, because in detachment you do not lose your humanity, you reclaim your authority. And he who has authority never begs to be desired. He becomes irresistible,